What's up guys, ZiSotto here, and today we're reviewing the patch notes for patch 4.16 Summer Knockout. The notable points of this patch are a new Bacchus skin, the bear skin, as well as a Terra wrestler skin. Let's first quickly go through the skins, talk about them very quick, and then proceed to the balance. We've got Belly Bust Bacchus, which literally transforms into a bear. It looks very cartoony in-game. I think a really cool skin overall. Probably very much worth it, though you have to consider that you have to buy a lot of skins to get that one. Then we have Baywatch Chulainn, which has kind of like, you know, Chulainn as a surfer guy, and then when he transforms, he gets like turned into this creepy buff guy. So I like that skin a lot as well. I think it's really cool. We got a new Chimpazilla skin, Fire Dancer, which actually has a lot of fire animations around the skin as well, which is really cool. We have Dropkick Terra. I don't like the skin that much. It's like a wrestler skin. It has some nice animations, but in its fairness, it's only 450 gems, plus it gives you a whole massive bundle, and some of it goes to charity, so that makes it kind of justifiable. Then we have Vamana, or Serenity Vaman, however you want to call him, or other people know him as Zenyatta, because literally his whole voice pack sounds like that as well, and he's got those orbs, so copyright incoming, who knows? I don't think so. Not in this case. It's different enough, so to speak, but you can definitely see where the inspiration is coming from, both design-wise as well as voice pack-wise. And then we have Maharakta Ganesh, and that one is a really cool skin. I think it's very well translated into in-game. I would even say that his in-game model looks better than this card art in terms of the coloring. Very intense colors, kind of like a gold skin, but he's red and has these black parts, his pillars are black as well. And he has skulls all around the skin, even in his bowl is full of tiny skulls. So that looks really cool. And last but not least, we have mastery skins for Artio. The most notable one here probably being her legendary skin with a black bear, which looks really nice. And as always, we're quickly going through the voice packs. Be aware that they may be very loud, so turn on your speakers now if you don't want to get your ears blown away.
I'm not clumsy! Pandas are clumsy!
I built that beach a sandcastle. Beaches love sandcastles.
How do you make a fire dance better? You can't. It's already lit, baby!
Hello? 911? Yeah, I'd like to report a robbery. Looks like Terra stole the show! Haha, booyah!
It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours. It cannot be taken from you.
Like I said, Zenyatta. It's very obvious here. By the way, Chulainn's animations change depending on the stance. In his normal stance, he's got water animations, and in his berserk stance, he's got sand animations, which look really cool. And then we got the emote for Belly Bacchus, Belly Bust Bacchus, where when he walks around, bees hunt him, which looks really funny if you use the emote. Obviously, we'll give you away a little more on the map with the bees. And Chimpazilla gets his dance emote. And we have the Connoisseur event. That's the Terra skin I was talking about. It's a Terra skin, a punching bag ward, which is actually a big ward. It's much bigger than normal ward. A cutesy dropkick avatar, and a wrestling bell global emote. There is some further changes to SMITE, and this one is one of the bigger ones in terms of Project Olympus. Vivox is introduced, integrated voice chat, which can be used in parties. I think it says only custom and ranked modes, but I think on the patch notes show they said that it's for parties as well. So you can mute people as well, so that won't be an issue. I think it's also push to talk as a possibility. So it should be a very beneficial feature overall, and should be especially nice for ranks, for some coordination. Obviously, you have the shitty mics, you have the annoying ones, but generally speaking, it should be a good change for most. And the Learn tab gets a glossary with the most used mobile words, basically. In terms of gameplay, there's a change to the Fire Giant. The Fire Giant will no longer spawn lava pools underneath pets, which is actually quite significant in certain situations, where that would just zone out any melee from even going to the Fire Giant. And in Duel, the amount of bans is increased from 6 to 8. Well, it's something that was requested a lot by some Duel players, not so much by others. We'll see how it pans out. I think generally it's a good tendency to go in that direction. Then fantasy points tipping no longer has the clicking sound at the end of the lobby. I think we're all happy about that, because it was this timer running out and you thought you're missing out on something. It's just you're not tipping. Then we have a lot of bug fixes for AMC, the Stinger fixed description for the range, dummy text for Arachne. This one is actually interesting. Changed how web functions in regards to slow immunity. Players who are slow immune will still leave behind web trails on the ground behind them. This is actually somewhat of a buff because, you know, you will still be able to follow them even though they have slow immune. So this is, in my opinion, more than a bug fix, and it's definitely strong on her. Then again, it won't push her into the meta or anything. Ganesh will now display the amount of kills granted to his allies and good fortune, so he knows that. Then mostly the other ones are mostly just pets, so it explains that why certain abilities have certain interactions. Why, for example, Loki's decoy doesn't proc Bluestone because it's a pet, and that goes for all of these. Raichu gets fixed, where early ranks of these abilities were not slowing enemies properly, so also more or less of a buff through that, and the other is just a pet. And then we get some item changes. Sundering Spear gets a buff. Sundering Spear was obviously a very popular pick for a long time, but it hasn't been that popular lately. The stats on the item are just not warranting the pickup over something like Shell, for example, or even still Bracer, even though Bracer got nerfed or not. And that's mostly down to the fact that not only does it require you to hit it early in the fight, but if you miss it, you completely ditch a relic, which has 160 seconds cooldown, which is very unfortunate. So therefore it's getting some cooldown reduction from 160 to 140. Nothing crazy here. Just a little buff to put it a little more in line with other relics and gives a bit more of an opportunity to still be used at all. Don't think it will come back though. Sprint, Heavenly Wings rather, gets a nerf. The movement speed buff is decreased from 40% to 30%, both on the normal version. The upgrade, it was just a little bit too strong in terms of mobility and in team fights and whatnot. So that's very understandable in my opinion. Magic Shell also gets a nerf. This is even more important in my opinion. Decreased health shield scaling per level from 15 to 12 and increased cooldown from 140 to 150 seconds. As long as you can still use multiple shells after each other, I don't think we'll see Shell lose popularity unless it gets like very, very big nerfs. Especially the upgrade shell has so many nice benefits as well, but even the default shell is so, so good. And I would like to see more nerfs to this than this, but they said they just want to touch relics lightly in this patch and then see how they go from there. Shaman's Ring. Shaman's Ring got its cost increased actually from 2,200 to 2,300, but in return it gets 80 instead of 60 power. So kind of a compensation for that. I think it's better for the item. 100 gold doesn't matter all too much, and 20 more power can give this item more late game capability. So I still think it's not on the strong side. This definitely makes it also more of an early game justifiable item basically. And the passive, on the other hand, now only applies from damaging abilities, which means that any god that does not have 4 damaging abilities and has like to rely on something else, like or just doesn't have the multi-hits or whatever, will benefit less from it. Somebody who comes to mind would be Janos. Not that it's picked up a lot, but for some mages it doesn't matter. Like for example, for Kwang it doesn't make a difference, but for some others it does. Telekine's Ring decreased the cost from 2,700 to 2,400. Telekine's Ring should now stack its passive from damage over time effects. This is actually surprisingly strong. I think it's like 70 base power plus 60 extra power if you have 3 stacks. And with a dot, you can stack that incredibly fast now and you go to 130 power right away. Plus, you still have the movement speed on top of that. I would say it's still not quite a Bancroft's, but it's more down to Bancroft's probably needing some nerfs than Telekine's needing buffs. So on certain gods that utilize dots well, I can actually see this work because it still lasts for 5 seconds. You can still proc it again with other abilities. So Shankui. I'm just thinking Shankui with this one. And this could be interesting. This could definitely be interesting. Dynasty Playtime also gets a buff again. It was nerfed in between. They took down protections and pen, I think. Now the protections, the physical protections are increased from 25 to 35, making it much more of a worthy pickup again. The interesting thing here is if you build this plus Vampiric Shroud, you get a lot of early physical defense for a relatively low price and some extra health and sustain. And you can really focus more on survivability if you want to on certain characters, which, you know, may facilitate, for example, jungling for some or just mid laning against a physical heavy comp. So definitely a nice option for certain gods here. Then even in solo, it could maybe be justified at some point. Again, we'll see. And then we get to the guard balance. Artio, not a surprise here, gets multiple nerfs. Maul Prey, decreased magical power scaling from 35 to 30% per swipe. A little bit less damage there. Good. That ability just did ridiculous amounts of damage. Decreased base damage from 50 to 170 to 40 to 160. Also very good, especially the early pressure taken away from those swipes is quite significant and should be this way. Now the ability has a longer cooldown already, and I think this slowly puts it more in line with others. Life Tap decreased the slow per stack from 20% to 10%, and also decreased the self-healing from 15 to 35 to 10 to 30. So once again, lowering her early game potential a little bit, leaving her in the same niche, I think, but just giving her a little less damage. Got to see if how this pans out for solo, or especially for jungle now with less base damage as well. But it will definitely have an impact on her. I do not believe that it will put her like below the point of balance, though. I think she's still a strong character regardless, and we'll probably see more adjustments. She just really needed nerfs. That was the main point, and she needed those since PTS pretty much. So I'm not too surprised they're coming through slowly. Kronos also got nerfs. He got way too many buffs before, and then was performing really well. Time Rift, 5% scaling of the magic power. Not much, just a little bit here, just to make it hit a little less hard, especially in late game. And Accelerate, decreased section 4 basic damage, basic attack damage buff from 45% to 35%. A lot more impactful because it's per hit. So yeah, this should be chunking into his performance a little bit there, but at the same time he still has new passive and everything, so he should be fine. I don't think he will suddenly suffer, but it's a decent hit here. Chulainn, that's one of the big question marks of this patch. Gets Barbed Spear, increased healing reduction from 40 to 50%, so it would be in line with other anti-heals with 50 and 100%. Chulainn did not need a buff. And Hyra stated that he's performing like very in the middle of the meta, but I think that's just because he's got a relatively high, skill ceiling. I'm not sure if he's got a high skill floor. I guess he also has a high skill floor. You need to learn that rage management first. You need to learn to play the character as effectively as possible before you can utilize him fully. But when you do, he's very, very strong, and I am not so sure about this change. I feel like he should get some nerfs in return as well, but oh well. Capri, Scarab's Blessing, adjusts its ability's timing to allow the target to immediately receive Scarab's Blessing. Players should no longer be interrupted while casting the ability. Very good change. Just, not getting this awkward in-between frame where you try to use your ult, get stunned out of it and don't get it off, and your teammate is pissed at you afterwards. So I'd rather have it this way, and I think that's good, even though it will mean that playing against Capri is a little bit more frustrating. Scotty gets nerfed. No surprise there. Has been performing very, very well lately. Permafrost decreased the physical scaling by 10% from 60 to 50, and also decreased the bonus movement speed from 40% to 20 up to 40. So if she wants that extra movement speed, she has to max this now. She doesn't get her free early game sprint basically, and she does a little less damage with it as well, taking damage even. I think. And then Susano gets a buff, which I don't believe he needed all that much, to be honest. That's the other question mark for me. I don't think that Susano was top tier anymore. I think the nerfs took him out of that, but I also did not think that he would be considered weak enough to need buffs. Again, maybe just somebody liking Susano a lot. His base movement speed has increased from 365 to 370, and that's the part I understand because he lost a lot of mobility. But also, his Wind Siphon is decreased from 18 to 16 second cooldown. That part I don't see as necessary, even though yes, he needed some mobility maybe back that he lost so much of, but that part just, it's no explanation for it. It's just strange. But yeah, that's it for the patch notes. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope this was interesting, insightful. See you for the next one tomorrow. If you're not subscribed yet, feel free to click the sub button, maybe the bell. It really helps me out. Duke Sloth out.